So, have you ever stopped to think about how a giant company actually gets, well, everything? I'm talking from the paper clips in the supply closet all the way to their entire IT department. Today, we are diving deep into the Smart Business Playbook for procurement and outsourcing. This is the stuff that really keeps the lights on and the whole machine running smoothly.
Let's just break it down with a simple idea. You've got a leaky pipe at home, right? What do? Do you try to fix it yourself, or do you call in a pro? Now, imagine you're not dealing with one pipe, but a whole skyscraper. That's the exact kind of decision big organizations face every single day. And that simple question, well, that's where our entire story starts.
All right, first things first, let's talk about procurement. And I want to be super clear about this right from the get-go. This is so much more than just the company's shopping list. It's a whole strategic system. Okay, so what is it, really? At its heart, procurement is a systematic process. And you got to pay attention to those words, systematic and formal agreement. It's not random. It's about having a structured, fair, and totally transparent way of getting all the things a business needs to do what it does best.
Now this slide here is huge because it clears up something people get mixed up all the time. Procurement is the big picture strategy. It's the whole game plan. Purchasing, that's just one of the plays. It's the actual transaction, placing the order, paying the bill. So procurement is asking why and who, while purchasing is all about the how much and when.
And the person who's steering this whole ship, that manager has a massive job on their hands. They've got to be part detective, figuring out what the company needs. They're part diplomat, choosing suppliers and hammering out contracts. And they're part watchdog, making sure the budget stays on track and everything is on the up and up, legally speaking. It's a really critical role. Okay, so if procurement is the game, then what are the rules? You don't just stumble into a great procurement strategy. It follows a really clear, ethical playbook. So, let's get into it. These are the absolute non-negotiables. First up, fairness. You have to give every potential supplier a fair shake. Everything's got to be legal, ethical, and totally transparent. And, this is a big one, every decision has to line up with the company's own values, whether that's supporting diverse businesses or, as we'll see, being sustainable. And this quote, it just nails the whole philosophy. See, smart procurement isn't some race to the bottom to find the cheapest price. It's a hunt for the best value. That's a mix of cost, quality, service, all of it. Grabbing the cheapest thing might save a buck today, but it could end up costing you a fortune down the road. Speaking of value, today that conversation has to include the planet. Sustainable procurement is a huge deal now. It means every time you buy something, you're asking, what's the environmental impact? What's the social impact? It's all about making choices that are good for business, sure, but also good for the world.
And all of this leads us to this massive fork in the road. Once the procurement team figures out a need, the next question is a really big one. It's that classic build versus buy decision, and that leads us straight into our next topic, outsourcing.
I mean, really, do we have to do everything in-house? That's the question that just blows the door wide open for outsourcing. And for a lot of companies, the answer is a hard no. Why would you build an entire department for something if you can just hire an expert who can do it better, faster, and probably cheaper?
So here's how it all fits together, nice and neat. Step 1, procurement identifies a need. Let's say we need top-notch cybersecurity. Step 2, outsourcing is the strategy we use. We decide to hire an outside firm that lives and breathes cybersecurity. And step 3, the contract. That's the all-important piece of paper that makes it official and spells out all the rules of the game.
So, why do companies even do this? Well, yeah, cutting costs is a big driver, you can see that. But it's definitely not the only reason. Look at this. Getting access to specialized skills that you just don't have on your own team is huge. And so is freeing up your people to focus on what they do best, the stuff that actually makes the company money. So, you've made the call. You're going to outsource. Awesome. But now comes the tricky part. You've got to find the perfect partner to trust with a piece of your business. And that is a very careful process, from the initial search all the way to signing on the dotted line.
And to find that partner, you need the right tool for the job. Like, if you just need to buy 1,000 standard office chairs, an RFQ, a request for quotation, is perfect. It's all about price. But if you need someone to develop a complex piece of software, you're going to use an RFP, a request for a proposal, where you're asking for their whole plan. And for something huge, like a new building, you'd use an ITT, an invitation to tender, to get competitive bids on very strict specs.
So once all those proposals and bids come in, the real work begins. And again,
It is not just about who has the lowest price. You're looking at everything: the reputation, if they can hit deadlines, what their customer service is like, and the total cost of working with them over the long haul. You're not just picking a vendor. You're choosing a partner.
Now look, outsourcing can be an absolute game changer. But let's get real for a second. It is not a magic fix for everything. There are some incredible upsides, for sure, but there are also some very real risks you have to manage.
It's really two sides of the same coin. On one side, you get to tap into amazing skills, you save time, and you get to focus on your main mission. But on the flip side, you might lose a bit of control, it can sometimes be tough on your own team's morale, and you have to be super careful about things like confidentiality. It's a balancing act.
So, how do you make sure you get all the good stuff and avoid the bad? What's the secret? It really comes down to two things: a rock-solid, airtight contract that spells out every single expectation, and clear, constant communication. That's your safety net. That's how you make it work.
And that just about wraps it up. So, I'll leave you with a final thought to chew on. From getting your car repaired to just ordering dinner on an app, what's one thing in your own life that you outsource without even thinking twice? Because, believe it or not, the principles are exactly the same. Thanks for tuning in.